foundation on a rock. When a flood came, the torrent struck that house, but could not shake it, because it was well built. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you will, and it shall be done for you.
The good news according to Yogananda. Just one thought may redeem you. You don't realize how effectively your thoughts work in the ether, in the spiritual realm, in the non-physical realm. Every thought we think sets up a particular subtle vibration. When you mentally speak or utter the word God and keep on repeating that thought within, it sets up a vibration that invokes the presence of God. If you tune in with the thought of God and hit the nail of delusion with the hammer of right thoughts of truth, you can overcome delusion. I want you to listen to the next line closely. We are much too fond of our own thoughts. Not everybody here, just people listening on Facebook. Learn to compare your developing discrimination with the wisdom discrimination of the Guru. Only then can you be sure when you are right. Amen. So I'll start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, help us not to love our own thoughts, but those vibrations of truth and wisdom and light that emanate from God. Teach us to value truth and wisdom more than we value anything else. Help us to be people of profound wisdom and profound love. Amen. So good evening. I mentioned before the Gayatri that Emily was accompanying Vicky. Emily is quite an accomplished oboe musician. She was with, for a period of time, a long period of time, with the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra. So thank you for blessing us. So again, the theme tonight is, one of the core themes of Kriya Yoga is wisdom and discrimination. And so I'm going to give my talk a little bit of a title, Learning to Contemplate Wisdom. So I'm going to begin with a bold statement. I'm going to jump around tonight, but you'll be able to follow me. You know, one of my favorite quotes is from Albert Einstein. And he says that the consciousness that created the problem is never ever the consciousness that can solve the problem. And let me translate that in terms of wisdom. And I mean this really, at some level, quite literally. If there isn't a higher wisdom, if there isn't a transcendental wisdom, if there isn't a wisdom that is larger than our logic, not that logic is bad, it's not what I'm saying, but if there isn't a wisdom that is larger than our logic, larger than our facts, larger than our knowledge, then we are in trouble. It's only a consciousness, a truth, and a knowledge, and a wisdom that is bigger than us that can restore us to sanity. If there isn't a transcendental wisdom, if God doesn't speak to us, if God doesn't communicate to us, if God doesn't lead us and guide us and direct us, not only in the spiritual side of our life, but in all areas of our lives, if that isn't true, then I think I would want to close this building down and go home. The only way that we can really function in a wise way, in a true way, in a liberated way, is to live from the very wisdom of God. And if I had more time to nuance this, I would, and I don't want to nuance it. Let this just be my beginning sort of starting point. God does speak to us. God does communicate to us. That's what we call wisdom. Wisdom is God's communication to us. So let me tell you a story. You know, my favorite Catholic saint is Francis of Assisi. And one day he's walking down the road with Brother Leo. Leo was his traveling companion, and in some ways along with Clara's confidant. And he said, Leo, I want to ask you some questions about perfect joy. He said, if all the Franciscans and all the friars perfectly obey the rule of poverty and live like good friars, is that perfect joy? And Leo said, I think so. Francis said, no, that's not perfect joy. He said, Leo, if we could cast out demons and raise the dead, is that perfect joy? And Leo said, it has to be perfect joy. And Francis said, no, Leo, that's not perfect joy. He said, Leo, if we could preach with the eloquence of an angel and convert the whole world to God, is that perfect joy? Leo said, I think so. And Francis said, no. Leo said, well, why don't you tell me what perfect joy is? So Francis said, I'm going to tell you what perfect joy is. He said, you and I are cold, and it's rainy, and it's snowy, and it's damp, and we go to one of our own monasteries with brother Franciscans. And we knock on the door and we say, this is Brother Francis and Brother Leo. We are cold, we are wet, we are hungry, let us in. And the friar answers the door and says, you're not Francis, you're not Leo, you're scoundrels, get out of here. And Francis said, we continue to knock. And finally, the friar comes out and throws us into the mud. And Leo said, is that perfect joy? And Francis said, not quite, but if we can endure that without grumbling, without responding in anger, if we can hold our peace and trust that somehow this is part of God's plan, if we can do that, Leo, that, my brother, is perfect joy. That is perfect joy. So let me explain. Others think, what does that have to do with wisdom? Stay with me. We get things in our culture bass-ackwards. And what do I mean by that? We think our happiness and our joy depends on what comes to us. And our unhappiness depends on what does or doesn't come to us. And so our emotional responses, our psychological responses are all based on external things. And that's really backwards. We say it this way. If you take a lemon and squeeze it, you don't get orange juice. If somebody mistreats us, and I'm not saying we have to be victims, that's not what I'm saying, but if somebody mistreats us and we respond with hatred and anger, It's not about them. That's something that's in us that is coming out. You see that? Nobody can make us respond a certain way. And if we do respond a certain way, it's not about them. It's about what's coming out from inside of us. So what Francis was saying is perfect joy is the world could be falling apart on the outside. All kinds of things and calamities could be happening to you on the outside. That doesn't mean you won't have a bad moment or two, but if you could respond with patience and faith and calmness and poise and peace, trusting God even in those circumstances, then good things will come out of you. Joy will come out of your depth. So it's not what comes to us that matters, it's what comes out of us that matters. That's perfect joy. When we can tap into that river of joy that flows beneath our thoughts and our mind in every one of us. That's perfect joy. Now this begs the question, okay, what does this have to do with wisdom, Craig? This is the problem. There are, we call it in yoga, impressions. There are deep impressions imprinted on our souls. They're like conditioned impressions. It's like a groove in a record. And they come from lifetimes of hurt and disappointment and fear. And they build up. And so what happens when something comes from the outside, they stimulate these negative imprints, these impressions. And for the most part, we're powerless to overcome. That's what Einstein meant when he said the consciousness that created the problem is not the consciousness that can solve the problem. Psychology alone cannot remove those imprints, those impressions. Insight alone, analysis, cannot remove those impressions that make us reactive. The only thing that can neutralize those impressions and give us freedom is wisdom. But I'm not talking about human wisdom, which is good. I'm talking about, again, a transcendental wisdom. The mind of God, the thoughts of God, the truth of God, the light of God. Only God's wisdom can neutralize those imprints and impressions and give us the perfect joy. Don't take my word for it. Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. See, when we open ourselves to the truth, it's like a light that bores into us, and it neutralizes those impressions, those reactions, those habits, and creates new possibilities for us. I'll give you a very concrete example, because you could say, well, that's St. Francis of Assisi, I'm not a saint. You don't get off that easily. I had a conversation with Kara this afternoon, one of our swamis, Prima Mata. She's sick and can't be here tonight. She gave me permission to share this story. If you know Prima Mata, she's had physical challenges for the last 8 years. I mean, she's almost died a number of times, and she's got a low level of pneumonia right now. That's why she's not here tonight. And she's got to go in for a biopsy in the next week or two for something else, and she had a kidney transplant a few years ago. And there was a time when she would complain. And she wasn't complaining, she was peaceful. In fact, she said, I want you to know I'm going to be praying for you tonight. I said, thank you, I need it. I said, Kara, how come you're like St. Francis today? You have the peace that surpasses all understanding. And she said, well, last summer when the Swami was here, our Swami Yoganananda, she was said to him, why do I have all of these challenges and this suffering? Why? And he said to her, he spoke truth. He was inspired. God's light came down to him and he spoke wisdom to her. He spoke inspiration. He said, Kara, this isn't Prima Mata, this isn't a punishment. It's your service. You are taking on the suffering and the karma of others. It's a great gift that you've been given to do And she said to me, that's why I'm at peace. My suffering is my service to God and to all of you. I'm taking on people's karma. Psychology couldn't have given her that freedom. Only wisdom from above. Swami Nirvananda spoke truth to her, and it penetrated and neutralized all that reactivity of self-pity. It's gone. She's like Frances today a little bit. She's watching, so I don't want her to think entirely. Okay? But she's a little bit like Frances. Perfect joy. So do you see, it's wisdom that purifies those imprints. Now, I want to take this a step further. Wisdom, as I'm in the spirit that I'm talking about, is not information. It's not even just knowledge that's coming from God. It's a momentum, it's a force, and secondly, it is alive. It is purposeful. I'm going to read you from both the Jewish scriptures and in the Christian scriptures from the book of Proverbs. It's all about wisdom, and I want you to hear how they talk about wisdom. Wisdom is not just this sort of neutral Star Wars-like force. Okay? A father is speaking to his son. Listen to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. Get wisdom. Do not forsake wisdom. And she, wisdom, he talks about wisdom in the feminine, it's very beautiful. And she will protect you. Wisdom, God's wisdom protects us. It guides us. It tells us how to avoid danger. Get wisdom and she will protect you. And she will watch over you. Prize her highly. And she will exalt you. She will honor you. She will embrace you. She will place on your head a fair garland, crown chakra, and she will bestow on you a beautiful crown, crown chakra. And now, my children, listen to me. Happy are those who keep her ways. Hear my instruction and be wise and do not feel neglected. Happy is the one who listens to me, wisdom. Watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from me. Counsel and sound judgment are mine. I have insight, I have strength. I love those who love me. Wisdom is the presence of God in time and space guiding us. She's a mother protecting us, leading us, blessing us, liberating us. Strength comes not from egoic will. Strength does not come from force. It comes from wisdom and truth. Embrace the truth, embrace wisdom, and we become strong. We become upright, even in the worst storms. So, how do we get wisdom? How do we cultivate it? I just have some simple points. First of all, we have to recognize that there's a higher wisdom. See, we can get good knowledge from the New York Times or from the Wall Street Journal, which is good. It has its place. But wisdom elevates us. It stirs our divine potential into consciousness. You know when you're hearing wisdom because it challenges sometimes, yes, but it frees and it liberates. It elevates. So first of all, we have to know that we have to acknowledge that there's a higher wisdom. Common sense is great. Don't misunderstand me. We need common sense. But there's a higher knowledge, a higher wisdom greater than common sense. It's a transcendental force or power. We have to know that it's there and it's operating. And it's available to us. Secondly, in Proverbs. It talks about loving wisdom. What does that mean? I want to go back to something Yogananda said, paraphrasing. Most of us, we're in love with our own thinkingness. We love our own thoughts. To love wisdom is to love God's thoughts above our thoughts. Okay? To love wisdom is to love transcendental truth over and above our opinions and our positions. One of the things that happens with saints is that God always answers their prayers. Not always in the way that they want, but their prayers are very powerful. Why is that? Why do they get God's guidance so clearly and so purposefully? Because they love God's thoughts more than they love their own thoughts. What does that mean? When they pray for guidance and wisdom, what they're essentially saying is, whatever you tell me, God, whatever the wisdom is, I will absorb it, I will say yes, and I will obey it. See, it's our willingness to love wisdom more than our own thoughts and preferences that allows us to be open to the flow of wisdom. Let me put it in a very simple vernacular way. God is really busy. All right? Right? There's over 7 billion people on the planet Earth. And God knows how many sentient beings there are on other planets in all the different dimensions. God is very busy. And God's not going to waste his or her time to answer our prayers if he or she knows we're not going to listen. You see what I'm saying? Wisdom can only come to us if we're willing to bow to it. Otherwise, it's not going to come to us. The arteries are clogged, it's not going to flow. So we have to love, if we want wisdom, we have to love wisdom more than we love our own wisdom. We have to love God's thoughts more than we love our own thoughts. That's the second thing. Third thing, again, just going from the book of Proverbs, talks about waiting and watching at the gate. What is that? That's meditation. Now, meditation is not the whole deal, but it's necessary to get wisdom. What does it mean to watch and wait? What do we do in meditation? We essentially let go of our own thoughts. We let go of our own drives. We let go of our own positions. We become quiet. We become silent. Silence and quiet is one of the preconditions for receiving wisdom. If we're always in this kind of stirring, there's no room for wisdom. Even if we have goodwill, if our mind is running crazy, there's no room. Silence, stillness, allows the light of wisdom to pierce our consciousness. So we have to meditate. We have to practice stillness. We have to watch. We have to wait. Wait. Speak, Lord. Thy servant is listening. Speak, Lord. Thy servant is listening. That's watching and waiting. But that's not enough. And this is where the contemplation of truth comes in. Yogananda says, where does wisdom come from in a very practical sense? It doesn't come from Dr. Phil. He's a nice guy. It comes from Jesus. It comes from Yogananda. It comes from the Bhagavad Gita. It comes from the Bible. It comes from Anandamurti. It comes from great saints. That's where wisdom comes from. Don't seek it anyplace else. Go to the highest and the best. Sit at their feet. So let me bring that into meditation. I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I know you all meditate every day. It's really great. After you've sat in the silence for a little bit, I want you to start to bring in a contemplation of wisdom. We're going to practice it for a moment. So you're in the silence. there's stillness, there's peace, there's beingness. Wonderful. And after you've been there for a while, bring in a contemplation, the words of a great saint and a great mystic. So I want you to close your eyes. And I'm going to quote Jesus 2 or 3 times. Just breathe the wisdom in. Contemplating isn't analyzing. It is breathing it in. It's becoming one with it. So you're in the silence. You're in the peace. And Jesus says to us, seek and you shall find. Ask and it will be given to you. Knock and the door will be opened. Breathe that in. Breathe it in. Let it get to the core. It's truth. It's pure truth. It's how the universe operates. It's how God operates. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door will be opened. For a moment, breathe, and just repeat it. Ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door shall be open. You can open your eyes now. See what we're doing in that, particularly in that meditative silence, you're calming down the truth spoken by God through Jesus or Yogananda. And can you feel that kind of working in your soul? Ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door will be opened. It gets into your soul. It erases all the negativity and the doubt. So that the storms come, rather than complaining, you say, okay, God, I'm asking, what do you want me to do? You told me to seek. I'm seeking your wisdom and your guidance. I won't grumble. I'm going to seek. I'm going to knock until you answer the damn door. See, it gets in your soul. You begin to operate out of that wisdom and truth. I want to close with 2 quotes. I have a friend that is he's been a monk his whole life. And his first day in being a monk, they do this in some of the monasteries. They gave him one scripture quote, one truth statement to contemplate his whole life. And for him it was, seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be given unto you. And he told me every day that wisdom just plays inside of him. And he realizes there are deeper and deeper levels to it. So take some scripture passages, some quotes from Yogananda, wherever, wisdom quotes, and just let them become part of the fabric of your life. Let them percolate deep inside. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. Let that become a living truth, because it's spoken by a God-man. It has to be true. Let it become a living truth. Let that wisdom liberate you. Let that wisdom guide you. Seek and you shall find. 2 quotes. One from Lahiri Mahashaya and the other one from Jesus. Lahiri was Yogananda's guru's guru. Thought is a force even as electricity or gravitation is a force. The human mind is a spark of the almighty consciousness of God. I'm going to repeat that. This is a good wisdom statement to contemplate. The human mind is a spark of the almighty consciousness of God. I could show you that whatever your powerful mind believes very intensely would instantly come to pass. When our mind has been purified by truth and by wisdom, we think the thoughts of God, and therefore our thoughts become powerful forces. Jesus said something similar that parallels it. He said, "Abide in me. And if you allow my words to abide in you, my wisdom, my truth, if you let it percolate, if you let it become part of the fabric of your being, if you allow my words to abide in you, anything you ask for shall be given unto you." Because your thoughts are God's thoughts. God has to obey God's thoughts. Pray for wisdom.